Hello friends, welcome to Upsc Ias YouTube channel. This session is a part of our quick revision series Prelims Atulya. And in today's session, we'll discuss the economy during medieval India. So far, we have covered the administrative aspects, cultural aspects, and in today's session, we'll cover the economic aspects during medieval India. And I would like to remind you that we have already covered ancient history and we have already covered considerable portion of medieval history too. So if you haven't revised your history yet, you can explore the playlist of Prelims Atulya. These videos will help you revise your history in no time. So let's get started. So friends, people in medieval India pursued diverse range of economic activities. And their sphere of works varied from agriculture to trade and commerce and so many other commercial and financial services. Now in this session, we'll discuss the extent of cultivation, crop pattern, means and methods of irrigation, and in the last we'll try to analyze the land revenue administration during those times. So during medieval India, the rulers expanded agriculture to such areas which were hitherto not under cultivation. So agriculture was introduced to tribal, backward and outlying areas, and forests were cleared and agricultural wastelands were converted into cultivable lands. An extent of agriculture expanded in good proportions from the Sultanate to Mughal period, and by the Mughal period agriculture was practiced in almost all parts of the empire. Yet land still existed in huge surplus than the actual requirement of Mughal agricultural population. Now we'll try to understand the crop pattern. So the medieval Indian peasants produced a variety of food crops, cash crops, vegetables and spices. They were familiar with various advanced techniques of crop cultivation of their times, be it double cropping, three crops harvesting, crop rotation, and believe me, they were aware of use of manures also. And they had the knowledge of range of devices for irrigation. Now let's try to know the cash crops in those times. So sugarcane, cotton, indigo, opium, etc. were some of the most prominent cash crops of medieval India. So making of wine from sugarcane became widespread by the 14th century. So during the Mughal period, sugarcane was the most widely grown cash crops, with Bengal producing the finest quality. Now we'll try to understand about fruits and vegetables during medieval India. So fruit crop cultivation developed rapidly during medieval period, and some of the Delhi sultans actively promoted growing of fruit crops. And Firoz Shah Tughlaq laid down 1200 orchards in the vicinity of Delhi. So Mughal emperors and their nobles also planted lavish orchards. So during the course of 16th and 17th century, a number of fruits were introduced in India through outside agencies. So the Portuguese, for instance, introduced pineapple, and cherry was brought from Kabul. So lychee and guava were also introduced during this period. So a wide range of vegetables were also produced by the medieval Indian peasants. And here I would like to tell you about Abul Fazl. He gives a list in his book Ain-e-Akbari. He provides a list of vegetables which were in use at that time. Now let's try to analyze the means and methods of irrigation. So friends, the Indian agriculture has always depended on various sources of water, be it natural resources or artificial resources. So dams, lakes and water reservoirs were some of the most important means of irrigation during medieval period. So here I would like to tell you about Madag Lake. Now this Madag Lake was built by Vijayanagar rulers on the Tunga-Bhadra river to meet the irrigational need of adjoining territories. So lakes and water reservoirs served as important sources of irrigation in medieval Rajasthan. Now a number of artificial devices were used to lift water from wells. Pulleys were employed over wells for this purpose. So Delhi sultans in particular promoted canal irrigation. Here you must know about Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. He built a number of canals for this purpose. And Firoz Shah Tughlaq laid the largest network of canals. And four such canals are frequently mentioned in contemporary sources. I have provided the names. First canal from Satluj to Ghaggar, and then opening from Nandvi and Simur hills. So you can go through these names. These are very important for your upcoming prelims. Now let's try to analyze land revenue assessment and magnitude of land revenue demand during medieval period. So the medieval state derived the largest share of its income from land revenue. and an elaborate mechanism of land revenue administration gradually developed due to efforts of medieval rulers like Alauddin Khilji, Sher Shah Suri, and Akbar. So, in its developed form, the land revenue administration involved well formulated policies. So, those policies were measurement of land, and then classification of land, then fixation of rate of the land revenue, and establishment of elaborate mechanism for the revenue collection. Now we'll discuss about the crop sharing. So three types of crop sharing was in practice. First, division of crop at threshing floor after the grain was obtained. Then second, khet batai, it means division of field when the crop was standing. And the third, lang batai, in which the crop was cut and staked in heaps without separating grain. So the share of the estate was decided in this form. Now we'll try to know the second method. And this method was known as Concord. So under this method, the measurement was important. So in this method, land was first measured, and after measurement, the productivity of land was estimated to fix the revenue demand per unit of measured area. Now later on, this method was improved by Sher Shah Suri. So for estimating the productivity, sample cutting from three types of land was taken. Those three types of lands were good land, middling land, and then bad land. So an average yield was obtained. So the state demand was fixed at 1/3 of the average yield. Now we'll try to know about Jabt. This was the third method. So based on yields, the share of the state was decided. Under Akbar, this method was further redefined. So all the territories were divided into revenue circles, and these revenue circles were known as dasturs. So for each dastur circle, per bigha revenue rates for different crops in cash based on productivity and prices was worked out. Now let's try to know the role of landed intermediaries in revenue collection during medieval period. So apart from state officials, various categories of intermediaries existed between the peasants and the state. Now these intermediaries played a crucial role in land revenue realization. So they claimed revenue exemptions on their land or a share in land revenue for the return of their services. Now during Sultanate period, these intermediaries continued to play an important role. And during Mughal period, such intermediaries were referred as jamidars. So these were the people who had hereditary rights over the produce of the land. Now let's try to analyze the trade and commerce situation in those times. So India had a fairly developed external and internal trade during the medieval period. So the internal trade developed along local, regional, and inter-regional levels. So trade relations with regions like China, Egypt, Central Asia were maintained on land routes. So it carried its overseas trade with Persian Gulf, the South China Sea, and the Red Sea. So the advent of European trading companies like Portuguese, British, Dutch, and French intensified trading activities in the Indian subcontinent. So by the Mughal period, inland trade had developed considerably. So every locality had regular markets in nearby towns where people from the surrounding areas could sell and purchase things. So these local markets were linked to bigger commercial centers in that particular region. Now, as far as the foreign trade is concerned, India had traditionally been maintaining trade relations with other countries. So during the early medieval period, that is from the 10th century onward, India carried trade with contemporary China, Egypt. So India also had high stake in the sea trade between the Persian Gulf and the South China Sea. So during Sultanate period, India had trade relations with Central Asia, Afghanistan, the Persian Gulf, and the Red Sea. India mainly exported food grains, textiles, slaves, indigo, precious stones. So it imported precious metals like gold and silver, horses, silk, stuff, etc. So India during the Mughal period witnessed further intensification of foreign trade owing to the advent of European trading companies and their direct participation in the Euro-Asian and intra-Asian trade. So India had trade relations with Central Asia, Persia, and Europe. And India's major export included textiles, sugar, opium, and spices. So in comparison to India's export, her imports were limited to a few select commodities like silver, silk, good quality wine, carpets, perfume, glass, watches, silver, utensils, horses. So these are some details which I thought you should be knowing as far as your prelims is concerned. And you can download this PPT. If it is possible, you can create your short notes and you can revise those short notes before your prelims. And these facts are extremely important, so I request you to revise this topic again and again. And if you have liked our initiative, you can subscribe our YouTube channel for more such videos. And if you have any suggestions, you can mention in the comment section. And do not forget to follow our social media platforms, because we provide daily current affairs content on our social media platforms. So that's all for today's session. I'll see you in the next session. And I would like to tell you that we are done with medieval history, and we had already covered our ancient history in the beginning. And now we will start in the modern history. So you can start revising your modern history, and soon we'll start uploading the sessions regarding the modern history. So that's all for today's session. I'll see you in the next session soon. Thank you. Bye bye.